What's going on, guys? It's Jimmy here. Welcome to our daily show where we discuss everything going on here in our country that you need to know about here on a daily basis. So we got a lot going on here. There's so many different states sending out state stimulus checks, property tax rebate checks, inflation relief checks, pretty much everything that you can kind of think of. They all got different names and more states even considering it here as well. And even on the federal level as well, I'll keep you up to date here on that. As inflation is getting, in some cases, worse, the potential for more checks here on the federal level, very, very possible as well. So you can let me know your thoughts here on that. It's very, very possible. Even after the election, well, we'll have to see what happens with Congress here on that. But remember that Congress stays uh, in session until January with the current Congress. And then we also have the potential for executive orders as well with leftover stimulus money that's already approved. Remember, former President Donald Trump did an executive order with already approved stimulus money and sent that out to millions of unemployed Americans. So, really, we could see a lot of different stuff that could still happen here this year. And if you've been watching my channel here, there's money going out to people this year as well. Check this out. Millions of low-income Americans still eligible for stimulus checks, still available, a watchdog says. Here's the details on this. As many as 10 million people may still be entitled to receive a stimulus check from the federal government, the government's internal watchdog said on Tuesday. Americans with little or no income who are not required to pay taxes have until November 15th to complete a simplified tax return. A simplified tax return in order to get their stimulus checks. The Government Accountability Office said in a blog. So this is why I show you guys this stuff right on the screen so you can see this and read this along with me. This is part of my mission here on the channel is to help out as many people as I can. It says here up to 10 million people may still be entitled to receive stimulus payments. Throughout the pandemic, the IRS and the Treasury Department struggled to get all these stimulus checks into the hands of some people, especially those with lower income, limited internet access, and experiencing homelessness. Based on the IRS and Treasury data, there could be up to 9 or 10 million eligible individuals who have not yet received those payments. The Government Accountability Office found that people who don't have to file tax returns, first-time filers, or mixed immigrant status families, or people experiencing homelessness were among those likely to not have received a payment owed to them. Probably because the IRS doesn't know where they live and doesn't know their address and things like that. Doesn't know where to send them the check, those kind of things, right? If the government doesn't know your address and stuff, right? Previously, there was the non-filers tool, which the government closed. Well, the reason the government closed it is because they're no longer sending out stimulus checks for stimulus check 1, 2, or 3 on the federal level. Okay. They're not sending those out. I still see occasional comments from people saying, I never received stimulus check 1 or stimulus check 2 or stimulus check 3. Please listen to me. If you have any friends or family that fall into this circumstances, please share this video with them. The government is not going to send them. If you're one of those people that says, I'm still waiting on stimulus check 1, 2, or 3, they're not sending those out anymore. The only way to get them is to file a tax return or a simplified tax return. Then the government will send you the money. Okay. So stimulus checks are actually tax rebate checks. Okay, even on the federal level. Okay, now they're actually on the federal level. They're actually advanced tax rebate checks, and they actually go out to non-filers as well. Remember that there was on the federal level there was the non-filers tool. Okay, and you could have filled that out so that the government can know where you live. Because if you're a non-filer, the government may have not even known you existed or known where you lived. And if you moved, you may have not gotten one of the stimulus checks. It may have gotten lost in the mail. Anything could have happened. Okay. So you may have gotten like stimulus check 1 or 2 or 3, but might not gotten one of them. They're not sending them out anymore. They're not mailing out stimulus check 1, 2, or 3 at this point. The only way to get them is to file a simplified tax return or a regular tax return. Okay. As I just showed you. Also, the same thing applies for the child tax credits. Okay. Remember that last year, the child tax credits, which were enhanced, they were increased to $3,000 per child for children ages 6 to 17 and $3,600 for children under the age of 6, so 5 and under. But the monthly payments only went out for the second half of the year, so $250 to $300 per month. The other half of the money was it's still owed to you. So $1,500 to $1,800 per child. So if you don't file a tax return, you're basically missing out on that money. So share this video with anybody you know. Tell them to subscribe to the channel, because if you don't file a tax return, even if you're not required to, you're probably missing out on money directly from the government. Okay. Also, for this year, 2022, which you'll file taxes on next year, sometime in February, March, or April, even if they don't pass the enhanced child tax credits, the child tax credits will go back down to $2,000. Okay. You're still going to have to file a tax return just like you would have had to for 2021, but there will still be a $2,000 per child tax credits. Now, things will change a little bit based on they'll go back to old rules. And if they don't pass something this year, which they're going to still try to do, they're actually trying to negotiate on it now. Okay. You're still going to need to file a tax return either way to get whether it's $2,000 or $3,000 or $3,600 if they can negotiate on the higher amount. Okay. But you can go to a website for the website is getctc.org. Getctc.org. You have to do this by November 15th, before then. Whether you're claiming the child tax credits or a stimulus check, and it basically will file a simplified tax return for you, I believe, for free. This is a government website. It basically says, even though the headline here says claim your child tax credit, don't worry about that, whether you're filing either one. Use our simplified tax filing tool to claim your child tax credit, earned income tax credit, which is an adult tax credit for low income earners, if you qualify, and any missing amount of your third stimulus payment. If you're missing a first or second stimulus payment, that's from the year before, that's from 2020, this would be to file a 2021 tax return. This is a government website. The form usually takes about 15 minutes to complete. This is to file a simplified tax return, I believe. I haven't actually used this, but this is a tool that you can use. It's a government website. So honestly, there's a lot of people that miss out on a lot of money because they don't file a tax return. So again, it may or may not be you, but my goal here is to try to help out as many people as possible. This doesn't mean you need to file a tax return if this doesn't apply to you. This isn't tax advice because I don't know your specific situation. So do your own due diligence. But if this applies to you, please look into it and do your own due diligence. Also, here's what President Biden has to say about lowering costs for families. Let me know your thoughts on this. Here's what he has to say.
I'm here today because I want to share the progress we're making to bring down the healthcare costs for everybody. And thanks to Democrats in Congress like Lou and also Katie. And Katie's just been a star. You can tell she's not passionate about much, and you can tell she's a retiring soul. But all kidding aside, a policy whiz who knows how to talk to folks, a fighter who's taken on the powerful special interest. And we've seen it all. No drug company executive wants to testify in Congress before Katie. Nobody wants to do that to answer her questions, because they're to the point and they're revealing. Katie's is a big reason why I've been able to make such progress dealing with health care. And that's what I want to talk to you a little bit about today. I know it's been a tough 4 or 5 years for the country. We've made a lot of progress, but folks, a lot of folks are still struggling. Folks who came from the families I came from, where you sit around the kitchen table at the end of the month and wonder how in God's name we're going to pay for everything. Do we have enough? Well, I think about it the way my dad did. He used to talk about it in a way that so many of you at home still talk about it around that kitchen table or that dinner table. How much are the monthly bills? And how are we going to have to pay for all the necessities that extend beyond that? Is there enough left over? My dad used to use the phrase, for just a little bit of breathing room. My dad was a well-read, high school educated guy whose great regret was he never got to go to school. But he used to talk about everyone's entitled to be treated with dignity. And when you don't have the capacity to meet the basic needs of your children and your family, you're deprived of your dignity. You're deprived of your dignity. It's especially the case when it comes to health care and prescription drug costs. That's why Katie's leadership and the work of the Democrats in Congress is so consequential. And Katie, I'm not just being nice because I'm in your district. It happens to be true. No, I mean it. You are a fighter, you're decent, you're honorable, and everybody respects you. Everybody respects you, and it's a big deal because you get a lot done. I wrote and then signed into law the Inflation Reduction Act. They used to call it, in the press, poor people have to follow me all over the country. We heard me say it before. It used to be called Build Back Better, but we got almost all of it. That Inflation Reduction Act did a lot of things. It had just a short amount of money, $368 billion for the climate, which is, it did a whole range of things. But what it did was it took on special interests in a way that we haven't in a long time. I know I don't look it, but I've been around for a while. And it's one of the most significant laws in our history when it comes to helping families pay their bills at the end of the month. Look, take the prescription drug cost. We pay more for prescription drugs than any nation in the world for the same, not drugs generically, the same exact drug. The cost of that drug by the same company sold in France and the United States is sometimes 25% cheaper, or Canada, or any other place I can name for you. And there's no reason for it because Big Pharma has been just a dominant force. Katie laid out the numbers that they expended. For years, many of us have been trying to fix that problem. Why is it that, for example, the VA can negotiate drug prices with pharma? They say, we're not going to pay you more than A, B, C, or D, X amount for the dog. The only exemption written into the law was that Medicare cannot negotiate the price of a drug with the drug companies, where they make billions of dollars through Medicare. For years, Big Pharma stood in the way. And for years, there's been no check on how high or fast pharma can raise drug prices. When I ran for this office, I ran on this platform. It's just not right. This year, drug companies alone raised the price of more than 1,200 drugs. This year, this calendar year, raised the price in 1,200 drugs above the rate of inflation. Not a single additional bit of information was injected into that drug. Not any more experimentation. Nothing new. Same exact drug. Same drug. And it gets increased. 1,200 of them. 1,200. The average price increase for those drugs is over 30%. 30%. In 2022, the price for one blood pressure drug that millions of Medicare beneficiaries rely on increased by over 500%. Who in God's name do they think they are? They thought they were impervious. They had so much power. You think I'm joking? We've been trying, a guy like me has been around the Senate a long time, been trying to take them on forever. And they're powerful. And people were afraid to take them on. Another drug used to treat autoimmune conditions increased just this year by $1,000. By $1,000. This is outrageous. But this year the American people won. We took on Big Pharma and we beat them finally.
Yeah, so like I get that a lot of politics is Republicans versus Democrats and Democrats versus Republicans. It's a sad, sad part of the way our Congress is run and politics is run. It's actually one of the saddest things of the United States of America. And really, if you're not a political person, which before this YouTube channel, I really wasn't at all. I really didn't care about politics that much at all. To be honest, I'm not much of a political person at all, which is why I consider myself an independent or a realist. I really care more about just things that affect people. Um, if you really just think about the realistic point of view, I consider myself a realist. I'm not one to like watch Fox News or watch CNN or something like that. Um, if you really just think about it, is lowering prescription drug pricing a good thing? Has it been working up until this point? For the last 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, has it been working? Letting the prescription drug companies with the free reign that they've had over the last 20 years, has it been working? And I mean, I think we all can answer the answer is no. I mean, I don't think anybody here can say, well, having them unregulated and just giving them the free will to price them at whatever they want and letting them, jack up the prices every single year. And I mean, you heard some of the statistics there, raising the prices by 500% on this drug in 1 year, making no changes to it at all, raising the prices on this drug by, in 1 year by $1,000, the price of insulin, which is a life-saving drug for millions of Americans. And, there's different types of insulin and things like that, being hundreds of dollars in a lot of cases. And a lot of people can't afford it. They literally can't afford it. People die because they can't afford their insulin in a lot of cases. They have to ration it. There's a statistic, I don't have it at the top of my head, but there's a large percentage of people who can't afford their insulin and have to ration their insulin. Just by the way, Walmart does sell one type of insulin for $25. So keep that in mind. I've actually learned that from you guys. So there is that, but it's one type of insulin. It's not a be-all, cure-all thing. And by the way, insulin is manufactured for anywhere from $2 to $10. Okay, so that's the type of insulin that's manufactured for like probably $2. They're still making, what is that, 20 times on their money almost. Okay, but the thing is here is that so check this out. This is the kind of thing that just common sense blows my mind. Senate Republican bill would repeal the Democratic drug pricing law that is going to let the government, Medicare to Medicaid services, negotiate down the prescription drug pricing, which the VA, Veterans Affairs, has been doing for years. And the VA, here's an article, just the first one I got from Googling. The Department of the VA, Veterans Affairs, paid half as much as Medicare paid back in 2017. Again, just the first one I Googled. This was released in 2021 because they don't release this here on a monthly basis. This is directly from the U.S. Government Accountability Office. So the VA pays half as much as Medicare pays because the VA is allowed to negotiate the cost on prescriptions. So they save millions of dollars simply because they're allowed to do this. And the Republicans, for some God knows reason, don't want to allow this to happen in the bill that was just passed. They want to repeal this. And the only reason I could think about this is simply because the Democrats passed this. Now, if you take out the word Republican here and take out the word Democrat, and if you just deleted who the parties were, would you want to allow this? Would you want to allow not having lower prescription drug pricing? And the reason they say they want to do this is they say that the drug companies won't be able to innovate then. And that they'll be stifled, and that their billions and billions of dollars that they make now, instead of making 50 billion, they'll only make 45 billion, or something to that effect. It's just like the oil companies, they lower output so that they can make more money, and then they cry their sob story while we're paying more money than ever, year after year after year, and they pass the buck to somebody else. This kind of shit is absolutely ridiculous. And again, if it was the Democrats passing the same type of, or trying to pass the same kind of stuff, would you want to put up with this? I don't really care who the parties are. Just think about this common in a realistic term. Do you think this is good? Do we want to let the prescription drug companies keep raising the prices? Or do we want lower prescription drug prices? It doesn't matter who the parties are. You let me know. Do you want lower prescription drug prices or higher prescription drug prices? The Medicare prescription drug caps are going to be capped at $2,000 a year, which is $166 a month. Before there was no cap. So you could pay, you might hit the cap, you might not. Some prescription drugs cost $2,000 or more for one shot. Some cancer drugs and some specific drugs, you can hit that literally immediately. Before there was no cap. Do we want a cap at $2,000 a year or no cap? Do we want insulin to be capped at $35 a month when some of it's $700 or $800 a month? Or do we want no cap? Do we want lower costs for prescription drugs, which also leads to lower costs on the premiums? Or do we want prescription drug companies to just make billions and billions of dollars of our money? I mean, honestly, I really just feel like this is common sense, but maybe we've run out of common sense. I don't know. You let me know your thoughts here in the comments, and I'll keep you up to date with everything going on here in our country on a daily basis. So make sure to subscribe down below to our YouTube channel, and I'll keep you up to date on this stuff and whether or not we're going to see lower costs or higher costs on this stuff. So you can click here to watch my newest video next. And here is my newest video on checks that are going out to millions of Americans that you might not even know about. So click on one of those videos next. Thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you in the next video.